Good morning. So just recap of the game last Saturday night. It's just been a joy to watch our team just scrap and fight all the way to the end, and for us to be able to secure a victory, back-to-back road games, two tough environments. Just extremely happy for our guys. They put a lot of work in. We always talk about we've had some really good practices, and we just need to see some results, and we've seen some results the last couple of weeks. Now, tons of room for improvement, as we all know. We could play better on offense, play better on defense, and play better in special teams, and we'll continue to work on that so we can play a cleaner game. But we know we're playing against good competition, and they also coach their guys up and come up with good plans, and we've been able to get those victories these last couple of weeks, and just really proud. The guys are swinging and fighting all the way to the end and keep scrapping. Injury update, Ryan Bowman suffered an arm injury versus U of A, and he'll be unfortunately out for the rest of the season. He's been a tremendous dog. He represents everything we talk about. He came here as a walk-on, climbed the depth chart throughout with his work ethic, and he's his toughness. He represents everything that we tried to make our dogs to be, and he became a starter and earned a scholarship, and also was a member of our leadership council, and is still a huge leader, a leadership figure on our team. He's undergoing surgery today, and then after that he'll be around the team for the rest of the year. Questions?
On that injury front, we saw Jaylen Polk kind of warming up before this past game. Obviously, he's supposed to be out for the regular season. Is there a status update on him, or just how's his recovery coming along?
No status update. If there comes a point where he's going to be available, I'll tell you after the game after he plays. But no status update at this point. He's able to, with the injury that he sustained, he's able to use his legs. Obviously, it was an upper body injury, so it's just nice to get him out there and stay fresh in terms of his technique and his route running.
You seem to have a lot of guys that didn't play on Saturday. Were they banged up, or are they coach's decision, or both?
Yeah, anybody that didn't make the trip or did not play is all injury related, and all those individuals that I didn't mention are week to week. Well, we hope to have some of those guys back this week or the week following or the week following that.
It's a pretty large number, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, I guess. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think everyone's dealing with issues. It's not just us, but this is the nature of the game, and we're past the midpoint of the season, and so I think this is normal. Unfortunately, this is normal to have these type of injuries.
On the film, what allowed Carson Greenridge to have so much success, especially early in the game?
Yeah, he started in practice, like I mentioned in the press conference on Saturday night. He showed up that he was able to diagnose plays fast and pull a quick trigger, and then he did the same thing in the game. And we always talk about practice execution becomes game reality. He does it in the game, he does it in practice, and then sure enough, he does it in the game. He was able to diagnose it quick and pull the trigger. It was awesome to watch.
What was clicking on that last drive that just wasn't clicking up until that point for you guys, you think?
Offensively, our last drive? We ran the ball really well throughout the game. Still some runs we wanted back, and that we felt like could have been longer gains. But then we were able to complete some balls. Jalen McMillan made some critical catches down the stretch, and also, Stanford, switched their defensive scheme to play us a little bit tighter during that portion because they didn't want us to drive down the field. So now that opened up some opportunities where we had some one-on-ones, and Dylan threw some strikes, and Jalen made some nice catches. So that's one of the reasons. But we got to be better. We got to be better early in the game. We got to score touchdowns way earlier than with 20 seconds left in the ball game, and so and that's what we're going to go back to work and try to correct this week.
After watching the film, you got a chance to see what the offensive line did to open up the running game. What did you see different against Stanford that you hadn't seen earlier in the year that really made the running game go on Saturday?
Yeah, those guys really gelled together well in some of our zone scheme stuff that we were doing, and again, it showed up in practice that we were able to get some good runs against our defense and also against the scouts, and then it translated over into the game. Those guys played physical. I think it was their most physical game, I would say, and I know it's subjective, but I think our offensive line played their most physical game on Saturday night. We were finishing blocks. We were very gelled together on our combos. And then our running backs did a nice job of seeing the holes and hitting them and breaking some tackles.
At left tackle.
He played a better game than he did in his start against U of A. Was even more physical, was playing even more confident. Was really proud of the work that he put out there Saturday night.
Zion had the offsides penalty. I know he'd indicated that he saw 0-0 on the play clock, and that's why he went. Are you okay with that? Did you just see the
No, we don't make any excuses, no explanations. He was offsides, and that was a huge penalty. And we will get that corrected. He needs to stay on sides. So that we don't make excuses and explanations about anything, about referees, all this and all that and the other. He was offsides. That's on us. That's on me first, and we'll get that corrected.
You mentioned after the game that you guys were able to run off tackle more successfully in that game than you had previously this season. Was that a function of something that they were doing defensively, or was it something that you guys did? Why do you feel like you were able to have that success?
Yeah, we've run those similar plays throughout the year. They are really big in the middle. They had a really big nose tackles and really big tackles, and we were just more in unison. We were more in unison. It takes time to gel together when you're trying to run some plays of that nature. And Coach Huff, give them all the credit. They worked on it, and it was effective on Saturday night.
Was this Dom Hampton's best game on defense?
No question. Best game as a dog. Best game as a dog. Go back to last week against U of A down in Tucson when we had a number of injuries piled up in the secondary, and he had to finish the game for us at safety. And he played really well down the stretch there to make sure we could secure the victory down there in Tucson. And so that was, I think, the first boost of confidence for Dom, and was playing well in special teams the last few weeks as well, and in that game against University of Arizona. And then for him to get his first start against Stanford, one of the, I always talk about, it's one of the heavyweights of the Pac-12 North, and for him to play the way he played, and he made a key special teams tackle as well. This was by far his best game as a dog, and I know he'll grow from this and have some confidence and come back to work and still try to improve his game. But the arrow is definitely pointing up with Dom Hampton.
The 4th and 1 stop, it looked like Cam had gotten there on 3rd down. Maybe even Dylan on 4th down. As you kind of
Agree.
Yeah. What did you? I guess you answered right there. But what did you see on film that?
Agree with the 3rd down, and I agree. I agree on the 4th down. And again, I'm not going to make excuses. Let's not make it close. If it's 3rd and 1, let's get a 10-yard gain. How about that? And if it's 4th and 1, let's get a 5-yard gain. Let's not make it close. Let's not leave it up to anybody else. But you go back to our UCLA game when they had the quarterback sneak on the goal line, and it felt like it took 15 seconds to stop the play. And then our 4th and 1, it took about a second and a half to stop the play. And so our momentum was going forward. And but what we're going to do, what we're going to try to do from now on, let's not make it close. Let's not leave it in the hands of anybody else. Let's make sure if we need 1, let's get 3.
Carson played every snap. How hard is that to do at that position? I know you guys have generally rotated at least a little bit there.
Yeah, in a game like this where there's not a lot of tempo, Stanford shuffles in and out their personnel groupings, and they use a lot of the play clock. It's actually better to keep linebackers in and DBs in so they can get a feel for the game, feel for their run fits. But in a more up-tempo game where they're trying to exhaust you and you're getting 80 to 100 plays, that's definitely where we've rotated a lot more. And so that was the game plan of what we've normally tried to do, especially against Stanford.
Jimmy, when you're going into a rivalry game like this, your guys obviously know what this game means. Do you address the rivalry with these guys? How do you go about it when obviously you're going into a team, playing a team that, is a big team for this fan base and for, the program?
Yes. Yeah. The first thing I'll say is really address it a lot like we did last week in terms of knowing the type of opponent that we're facing. And since the Pac-12 has split up the North and South, the three representatives of the North in the championship game have been Oregon, Stanford, and Washington. And so the facts are clear that those are the heavyweights of the Pac-12 North. And I made sure our guys knew that going into our game last week. And our guys know that going into the game this week. And they also know the magnitude of the proximity of our two schools and the history of why this is a rivalry. But I think first and foremost, it's a team that has represented the Pac-12 North and won the Pac-12 championship, just like last week, Stanford. And so we know we're playing a quality opponent this Saturday.
Following the game, you spoke about some of the...
Following what? Sorry?
Following the game, you
Oh.
spoke about some of the personnel switches you made and gave the credit to assistant coaches on a lot of that. What made the Stanford game the right week to kind of switch those guys around, especially like Bookie and Kyler and all that?
So it goes to what you're facing on off. You're talking about on defense, as you're talking about personnel. Yeah. So it again goes back to the style of offense that you're playing against and what we feel in our perspective, what they're looking for, and going into that game, we've gone against Coach Shaw and Stanford for a while now, and we felt like we had a good perspective on what we felt they were going to be looking for, and so that was a good opportunity to change things up.
Jimmy, is there one word that you would use to describe your feelings towards Oregon?
That's a great, Softy. You're good. You're good. Next question.
How would you, maybe I'll get the same response.
That's a good question.
How would you compare the rivalries with Oregon and with Washington State? Obviously, a lot of history with both schools, but it maybe feels like there's a distinct vibe to each of those.
Mm-hmm. I think, with the Apple Cup, I think we all know that people growing up in this state or from this state, you're one side or the other. So I think you see households are, split up. Mom could be a Coug, the dad could be a Husky, and it's obviously a heated rivalry there. I think this rivalry is more has been about championships and teams that are the team. Usually, the winner is going to represent the Pac-12 North, or they're hunting for a Pac-12 championship. It's just been more on a higher level in terms of a lot of things are at stake in that way. And so you look at the two, especially in the recent years, representatives in the college football playoff. Oregon obviously was there, and the University of Washington was there. And so just that alone, I think, has made this rivalry just more of a upper. It's a little bit more heated, I think, just because the championships that we're going after.
Something that may add to the heatedness of the rivalry. You can have player rivalries, but it seems like the coaches have more of a rivalry versus Oregon with the off the field, with the recruiting battles and stuff. Is that fair?
No, I don't think so. I think that is way more pumped up than it is. Our battles are really, the schools that we go against are way more have academic prowess, like the University of Washington, Notre Dame, Stanford, USC. We go with a lot of battles, toe to toe, all the way to the end with those schools, and so I think that's made up a lot and pumped up in your world. In our world, we battle more academically prowess teams.
What does, you think of like the old Chip Kelly, Mark Helfrich, a lot of high candy, a lot of speed. What's the calling card of a Joe Moorhead offense?
This is a highly effective offense, and lot of respect for Coach Moorhead and what he's done. A lot of respect for their offensive staff and what they've done. They give you a lot of problems. They're a downhill running team, and then as soon as you try to start stopping that, they're going to hit you on the outside. They have talent outside. They do a good job with their offensive line. Their offensive line blocks well. They protect well. They're the best screen team that we'll have faced all year long. They do a great job of releasing their offensive linemen out in the screen game. And so if you try to come after them, they're going to hit you with a screen. They keep you off balance is what I would say. Coach Moorhead does a really good job of keeping you off balance. Inside runs, outside runs, screen game, and then throwing up to some big-time athletes outside.
What do you see from Cam Davis in the last 2 games? It really seems like he responded well after the fumble against Oregon State. Just what has allowed him to have success and kind of build on each game?
Yeah, we have tremendous confidence in Cam Davis, and we know none of our players are going to play perfectly. He obviously had a mistake in the Oregon State game that we know that's not Cam Davis, and I think all the reps now that we've given to him since then, he's taken advantage of, and he's given us a huge boost. But that's the player that we see in practice, and he's only going to continue to grow and develop from here.
You obviously got a big game from Voy Tanufi against Stanford. And when you look at him physically, he's not the size of like a Taki or a Thule, but I'm curious what makes him a dangerous player on the interior there.
The first thing is the game is just not too big for him, which I've mentioned before. When he arrived here in January, we just knew right away that he was going to play as a true freshman. He was picking up the calls, his technique, his fundamentals that were already given to him at his high school that we recruit out of heavily, well-coached team. But he's twitchy. He's hard to block. He gets in the backfield, and with his stature, he's really good job at. He does a really good job of playing underneath blocks and staying low and leveraging guys. And he's strong. So proud of him. He was we voted on for us as a coaching staff as lineman of the week, and I think this is it'll be a big confidence booster for him. He knew he could do it, but then for him to go do it against one of the better teams in the Pac-12 North is going to gain a lot of confidence.
Dom Hampton, like the 7th different guy that started at safety. And I guess 2 questions I had is, what did he need to move up? Because he had a really good spring. It seemed like he ran with the ones most of the spring, I think. And 2, are you surprised that you've had to have so many safeties in and out of those 2 spots?
Yeah. So first, with Dom, just like anybody, but especially at that position, he just needed to clean up the details. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the ferociousness, the toughness. It's just all the details. And you guys can see, early on, to go to your second question, if you don't have the details ironed out, we're going to give up some big plays. I tell you guys all the time, and our defense knows, all the big plays run through the defensive back room. If there's a big pass play or a run play, it's the defensive back's fault. You can guarantee that. Somebody else might have missed the tackle or misfit a gap, but if it gets through and it's a huge play, it's on the DBs. And so what Dom's been able to do is go out there and clean up those details and play within our scheme and let plays come to him. And that's what has allowed him to play very effective in this last game and a half.
I think there was a plan to kind of get Roman Jaylen the ball a lot. Was that something that just kind of evolved during the game, or was that going in the plan?
Yeah, that's every game. We're trying to get those guys the ball, and Terrell Bynum. We're trying to get the ball out to our playmakers in different fashions, and that'll continue to be the game plan. Is try to get those guys touches along with running the football.
Kind of similar to that, Cade. It's been hard to kind of include him in the passing game at times. He hasn't had more than 3 catches since the opener. Not a lot of targets at times either. Our defense is kind of scheming that away from you guys, or just how do you go about trying to include him more consistently?
Yeah, no, I think that's another playmaker that we got to make sure we're trying to get the ball to. Again, it goes through the nature, and I think you're right, Mike. It goes to the nature of Dylan going through his progressions, and a lot of times they do know that we like to go to Cade Otton, and they may have a guy underneath and a guy over the top, and now we got to go somewhere else. But then also it comes back to us as coaches, making sure we need to be able to spring him free and make sure he is getting the touches that he needs to get. Because he's a chain mover. He's a first down. The drives usually can continue on if we're able to get the ball to Cade. And so we got to continue to make sure we're developing plans to get him touches.
With all the playmakers you do have on offense, do you think your passing game can be more than what it is right now?
No question. Yes, it can. And it needs to be. And we need to be just like on offense, or just like on defense and special teams. We need to get better. We need to get better on offense. Being more rhythm early, scoring points, and definitely having a better passing attack.
Jimmy, with all the attention and praise that's been heaped on Kayvon Thibodeau, is this maybe an opportunity for Zion to show I'm pretty good too?
I mean, I think we all know Zion's really good. I'm just happy with his progression from that injury. I'm happy for the boost that he's given us, and there's been no setback so far. And knock on wood, he's stayed healthy, and still just amazed that he's even back at this point. And so I'm just I know he'll just continue to get better with each game. And of course, I would love him to have a huge effect on Saturday afternoon.
How challenging is it to account for somebody like Kayvon though? It seems like there's been a couple games where he kind of single-handedly wrecked some stuff this year.
Yeah, that's a good game wrecker. Yes, he's this is the best that I've seen him play. When we played against him, he was a true freshman. I think he was still, it was kind of a work in the making. You could tell the talent, obviously. We saw it when he was in high school, but the film this year, you definitely see the progression of where he is now. We definitely got to know where he is at. And even when you know where he's at, which I'm sure these other teams knew where he was at, he was still able to create havoc in the backfield.
You've seen a lot of Travis Dye over the years. What makes him tough to account for with his versatility?
I think he's one of those guys, and I know it's an often used phrase, but he's a football player, and it's like, yeah, no, everyone's a football player, but like he's like this. I bet you could line him up at safety and at linebacker, at nickel. You can line him out at receiver, and he would have a bunch of catches. I think he has some of the most yards receiving on the team. I believe he's the leading receiving yards leader on the team. And of course, rushing the football. And so I just would sum it up. He's a football player. He's tough to bring down. He's got great vision. Can catch it, can run it. Seems like he's been there forever. A player I have a lot of respect for.
What's your hope for what the environment looks like Saturday?
What's that?
What's your hope for the environment this weekend? What are you kind of hoping you'll see when you come out there on Saturday night?
Yeah, well, I know we announced a purple out, so I would love to see all the fans show up in their purple, and so we can get that stadium rocking and see a whole bunch of Husky fans in there screaming. And we're going to work this week to make sure we're playing effective in all three phases, so we can get everybody out of their seats and they're screaming for some big plays that we're making on our side of the ball.
You crossed up Stanford with Giles Jackson on that conversion. They didn't come close to putting a hand on him. Have you had hoped that, you would have gotten a lot more out of him, like, really long plays, or does the opposition really key on him whenever he's in the game?
Giles, so first of all, Giles is being giving us a huge boost as a punt returner, kickoff returner. He's been great back there handling the ball. He's given us a huge boost on special teams. He was a I don't know if you guys noticed, but he was a gunner on punt team, and also ran down on kickoff and made a tackle. And then the critical 2-point conversion there at the end of the game. Definitely, I think I wouldn't just say that about Giles. I'd say that about anybody on offense. I wish we would have had more explosive plays across the board with everybody, with all our wide receivers. Giles is a young player. I'm glad he's a dog, and I think you're just going to see his game continue to grow and develop as well. I know he gained a lot of confidence from this last game, playing against Stanford, right in the where he's from, and making a lot of plays for us on special teams and that critical 2-point conversion.
I just raised that question because he's got a history of 90-yard touchdown run backs elsewhere. And
Yeah, I'll take one of those. Yep.
Is Polk getting close? I think, was he there? He was there. right?
Yeah. Mike mentioned that earlier. Yep. He's week to week.
Any weather for Saturday? What would you dial in? What would you like to see?
Whatever comes. I can't control that. Whatever comes, we're ready for it. Snow, rain, wind, sun. Let's go.
The play that you guys had where it looked like Terrell Bynum was going to throw the ball maybe, I mean, was that incorporated in the game plan, like from the beginning of the season? Is that something you had, or did that just kind of come in?
I'm not going to tell you that. Yeah, it was, we had it. I'm not going to tell you when I installed that or when we installed that. But yeah, Terrell Bynum did a nice job with that. Actually, Stanford did a nice job covering up who we were trying to throw to, but then TB pulled it and tucked it and ran for a first down anyway. So wasn't the explosive play that we were looking for, but it was conversion, and Terrell did a nice job with his keys there as a quarterback.
All right.
Thank you.